Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome back to Drums and Drams. Little late here. Sorry about that. We had a technical misfunction with my headphone. So tonight we are doing a blind rye flight. We've got more pours than I thought we would have in this flight. I'll tell you about it in just a second, what all we've got in here. Hit that like button on your way in, whether you're watching this live or on the replay. I am going to treat this like a mini live stream. I mean, that's what it is. So I am going to interact with the chat. I'm not just going to do this by myself up here. And because I'm doing this blind essentially by myself, I've labeled the glasses. I'm about to mix them up in front of all of you. That said, I'm not going to be able to hold up note cards and show you what I'm drinking along the way. So, you know, it's one of those things where if you're watching this, especially on the replay, it might be a little more boring for you. You know, it's going to be better for people to watch this live. You'll have to wait till the end to kind of get the reveals for all of these things. So, with that said, let's get into this now. Last night, my Patreon members know I got like some food poisoning. I think I'm up for this right now. We'll see if we get 10 minutes in and I have to go. You'll know why. But I think it's going to be okay. Also, I need a friggin' haircut. It's getting a little out of hand here. The broken foot prolonged the haircut that I need so desperately. So let's start mixing these up, and I'll tell you about which pours we have in this flight. So everything is double stickered on the bottom of these glasses, so there's no way to see through them. And it's written lightly in pencil on the second sticker what's in each glass. Now, the point of this is to put E.H. Taylor rye kind of to the test against other ryes at the exact same proof. I believe all 6 of these ryes are 100 proof, many of them bottled in bond, which is great. And the age statements range up to 7 years old, the Knob Creek being the oldest. The Sagamore is 6, Wilderness Trail at least 4. The other ones, we don't really know. I guess the New Riff is age dated at 6 years, but we're not sure about the E.H. Taylor. We're not sure about the Old Forester. We're not exactly sure about the Wilderness Trail. But I think all of these are good candidates to put in this blind because, again, comparable proof points, pretty comparable range of ages, and then also price point wise, these are all going to come in, I believe, let me look around. Yeah, these are all going to come in a little bit under the price point SRP of this E.H. Taylor, which is $80 or so, and secondary on this, you know, is probably around $200 right now, and that's more than double the price of anything you see on the table, in many cases triple or quadruple price. So if the E.H. Taylor in this flight, which again, it's just one single blind flight, one single night of tasting, and 6 is a lot to do in a blind. If it comes in the bottom 3, to me, that's like a pretty clear indication that this is not worth the hunt and not worth paying over. If it is in the top 3, then maybe it's one of those things where you say, okay, you know, pay up to 100 or up to 120, which is kind of what I said in my review video the other day. If you haven't checked that out, I will link it in the description of this video after we get done with this live. But I think at this point, we're pretty much ready. These seem pretty well mixed up, and what I'm going to do to keep track of all of these is I'm going to label each of the glasses 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 with an additional label that I can see, and that's going to help me as I mix these up and put them in a particular order throughout this little stream. I'll be able to tell exactly which glass I'm referencing along the way so that there's no mix-ups, which can sometimes happen in a blind flight when you have this many pours. So again, if you're just now jumping in here on this live stream, please hit that like button. And we're going to get going here in just a second with glass 1. All of these are poured out to the same level in the glass. They're all the exact same glass, so there are absolutely no tells of what is in which glass. All right, so I think we're ready to go. Paul says, Paul says, some rye spearmint will definitely help the gut. Yeah, food poisoning last night was nasty. I popped open the Old Forester staff bottle, or the employee bottle, which arrived yesterday. This is going to make an appearance on tomorrow night's live stream. Some samples will be given away of that and the new 13th Colony 15th anniversary. We'll taste them, talk about them. But I popped that bottle open last night, tasted it after eating some tacos, went off to teach, got home last night, stomach in knots, and then it was off to the races all night. So, so let's talk quickly about these bottles that are in here. The reason that I chose them, you know, well, we already talked about that. But one last thing I wanted to say, I guess, sorry, I'm a little mixed up, is that when I first put the thumbnail up, I had already talked to my patrons about which ryes to include in this flight. I forgot to add the Sagamore. I ended up adding the Old Forester instead because this won against Jack Daniel's Bonded in that blind comparison the other day on the Weekly Dram episode 9. So I threw this in, forgetting about the Sagamore. I decided let's just add the Sagamore in, so that's why we're at 6 instead of 5. We had originally planned for this to be 5. Okay. The Old Forester staff bottle. That's hilarious. Yeah, it could have been. Could have been, you know? Maybe that was the problem. Okay, guys. Let's get into it now. Glass 1 on the nose. Okay, glass 1 on the nose. A little young oak note. This has got some like pear juice, like bright fruit juice notes. This definitely has a toothpaste spearmint thing going on. Yeah, glass 1 is these light fruits. Big spearmint would be the rye note coming through on this. It smells good, but man, does it have that saccharin toothpaste sweetness to it. So that's interesting. Just to kick things off, that's a smack in the face. Really reminds me of like that Kentucky Owl Rye, which Kentucky Owl Ryes for me are just literally toothpaste in a bottle. All right. Yeah, Wayne, is it okay to vote? Yeah, let me know which one you guys think is going to finish on top, or maybe top 3. Because if I had to guess, I would say the Sagamore is going to be up there. I love the Sagamore. I actually think the E.H. Taylor might be up there, but we'll see. And, you know, I think the Old Forester might make it. The ones in here that I've literally never tried, the Wilderness Trail, I just bought this. Knob Creek, just bought it. I don't know those profiles between those two. And so that's going to be interesting. Okay, glass 2, sweeter rye on this. Yeah, this has a little bit of like a cream soda, almost root beer. I mean, this is like a really nice, dark, sweet rye. Yeah, that's a little chocolate too. And I would say that the way that the rye is coming through in terms of spice, this would be a little bit more of like a pine kind of note, but it's very light. It's more cinnamon. So glass 1, toothpaste. Glass 2, kind of cinnamon, little pine, but very sweet and dark and rich. So glass 2 stand out for sure. For sure. Oh, wow. Glass 3, this is chocolate-covered bananas. And malt. Chocolate-covered bananas and like honey maltiness on glass 3. Wow, that's very sweet. To me, I'm not here to really try to guess which ones those are. Glass 3 is probably the Old Forester. It smells great, but it's totally unlike glasses 1 and 2. And I think what a flight like this shows me, or is in the process of showing me, is just how different rye whiskeys can be. I mean, ryes get a bad rap from a lot of folks, particularly like, I think, you know, there's a certain age of consumer that has been kind of taught that ryes are not good, like a certain generation of consumer. And I don't think you can really make that claim anymore, because ryes are so different from these minty, dill, cinnamon, sweet. I mean, they run the gamut, and so this is definitely showing me that immediately. Oh. So four smells. I mean, the best way I can describe it is MGP rye. This is like, yeah, this is like sweet golden raisin, honey, very just a golden nose on this. Apple. I mean, 4 smells great. And 2 smells outstanding as well. A little hairspray note on 2. So yeah, spearmint, this pine cinnamon kind of hairspray thing, but dark and sweet. 3 is this chocolate-covered banana. And 4 has those kind of classic MGP notes, but without a lot of dill, which is nice. Boyd, there is Sagamore in here. We got the Sagamore 6-year bottled in bond. All right, Buffalo Bourbon Enthusiast said, I had an EHT rye pour and wasn't overly impressed, and I passed on the bottle a couple times for other allocated. Yeah, it's an interesting one. I mean, I think it's, like I said in the review, I think it's a good whiskey, but there's nothing about it that wows me. I just think it's solid. Okay, on to glass 5 now. Glass 5 is very chocolatey. What's up, Matt Porter? Hope you're doing well, man. Hope the recovery's going well. I watched your Four Roses video. Was that today? Did that come out? Yeah, it's Wednesday. All right, glass 5 is very chocolatey. Let's go to glass 6. Okay, glass 6. Ooh, smells like stale cardboard. Okay, and if I had to guess, again, that's not the point of this. I'd say this is probably the Knob Creek. But now, after you get the initial punch of this stale cardboard, you do get into some more cinnamon rye notes. Brown sugar, but I don't know about that one. So I think immediately my favorites. I think 4 is probably at the top in terms of favorites. I'm going to order these on the nose, and then I'm going to sip them and see how that goes. Look, I got a Matt Porter rhyme in there. All right, glass 3 is going to go in the top. Let's see, 2 and 1. As I go back and forth, I'm actually enjoying 1 a little bit more than 2. So 1 is going to go in the top 3. And so this is an approximate order. So I'll taste them in this order. Let's start with glass 6, which was my least favorite. All right, here we go. Yeah, this tastes like a bourbon. I mean, it's fine. Brown sugars, like I said, there's a stale note, a cardboard note to this. Whoever taught me this note or brought it to my attention, like a brown paper bag, like this has a brown paper bag kind of note. Yeah, it's fine. It's not particularly great. It's a pretty nice finish, I would say, for a 100 proofer. But 6 is not an impressive whiskey. It's just a good whiskey that tastes like a bourbon. All right, on to 5. Yeah, and again, this is chocolate all the way. Ooh, 5. This has solid palate development. A little bit of like this lemon cake note on it. Great balance of sweet and spice on 5. Honey on this one. Ooh, that's a very solid whiskey, glass 5. So I'm going to put that out front just as kind of a note that I enjoyed it. Matt Porter, have you picked up the 12-year bullet yet? I can't taste for another week, but it smells damn good. Matt, I've got an old bottle of the 12-year bullet. And it's like, it's low proof, but I always enjoyed it. That and, believe it or not, the 10-year bullet bourbon, I like that too. They kind of fall in the same category that IW Harper 15 does, which is just like, God, give us 10 more proof points on it. But the flavors, I think, in all of those pours are actually pretty good. Okay, on to glass 2. Interesting. Glass 2 smells like vegetables. Kind of like an Irish whiskey thing, like kind of a vegetal nose on glass 2. That's interesting. Ooh. Nice palate. I think the development on 5 was better on the palate. It lasted longer. The finish was a little bit better. 2's good. It's good, but it's not great. Let's go to 3. Okay. Avery Piper Cam, I've got a few Prideful Goat 6-year picks that are very different. Avery, truthfully, I appreciate that. I'm probably good. I'm drowning in samples, and, tasting picks is not the most efficient use of just, because at this point, I'm trying to limit consumption. So tasting picks, unless it's for some specific purpose, is a little tough. And those are probably MGP rye picks, and, I appreciate it though, man. Jason, it looks like for this 12-year bullet rye that they've redone the label. It's a dark label now, like a black background. I'm not sure if anything is different about it, but I think it's been like 5 years since they released a batch. It's been some longer amount of time than you would expect. Okay. So yeah, this one, again, to me, chocolate covered banana. The balance on that is just outstanding. So that's going to go to the front of the pack. Very interesting. All right, on to what is glass one. Glass one, guys, a little tight on the nose. And I'll need to go back through and compile my notes. It wouldn't be the quickest thing for me to write all this down right now. I think that would kind of slow it down a bit. Glass one. It feels like it's going to be big on the palate, but then it's just a teeny bit tight. Okay. The palate is wide, it's broad, like very broad on the palate, but the spice doesn't hit you and drive the whiskey like in the development. The spice just kind of tingles. It just pop rocks your palate, I guess. So the development is just the sweeter notes on the whiskey, punctuated by the rye spice. It's not fully integrated, I guess, between the spice notes and the sweet notes. But there's something old about this, an old leather note on glass one. To me, that does stand out in a good way. Oh, wow. And now we're on to glass four, which I said had a lot of classic MGP notes. This smells fantastic. Could be the Sagamore, but there's also some wild cards like the Wilderness Trail in here, the New Riff. So I have, I'm not entirely positive if I start making guesses on these what they're going to be. Yeah, that's solid. Very good. So there's something between glass 5, 3, and 4. There's something between these that I need to figure out. I need to figure out how I'm going to... A little acetone on glass 5. All right, I got to go with my gut on this. I'm gonna leave 6 in last place. I think that is that's an easy call for me. 3, which I believe would probably be the Old Forester. It stands out here in a good way and in a good balanced way, but it's also not quite what any of these others are, and it's hard to compare them, So, yeah, I think I've got to... do this. And I'll taste my top 3 to confirm, but I think my bottom 3 are in the correct order now. Yep, I think that's right. The acetone note on 5, now that I'm picking this up, it's totally distracting from the whiskey, and I'm not a fan. Okay. Glass 4 I've got in first place so far. All right, I'm going to taste 2 next. Let's go into random order. I think 2 is less than 4. And let's see where 1 fits in. And then we're going to have the final order here. I have an idea of what glass 1 is, but I'm not going to say it out loud yet. This is the tight race for first between glass 1 and glass 4. This is a very close call. I'm going to take just a second, check out the chat, go back in for one final head-to-head, then we can wrap this up. as everybody's going to move on to some other streams, I would imagine, at 9 p.m. Wayne, I replied to this just a few minutes ago, actually, before the stream. Yeah, I might go down Saturday morning. The Peerless Toasted is releasing at the distillery at 10 a.m. on Saturday. And I like making an occasional trip down there to just grab something that releases like that. The reason I'm interested in the Peerless is because I felt like they handled their double oak products very well. When it comes to distilleries in the last 2 to 4 years, everybody put out a toasted or a double-barreled product of some sort. And I think Peerless's double oak came out and it bucked the trend of like the Nulus and all the people sourcing MGP. They were putting it in these barrels that were just, they all tasted the same. Just humongous young oak, breakfasty spice notes. Like, I got really tired of that profile very quickly. And I think Peerless balanced that kind of profile with like the classic sweetness that you get on like your Woodford double oaked. And so I think the toasted might even be a better version of that. And I'm hopeful for it. And so I'm willing to take the risk. And, I'd like to get that released and not overpay for it on secondary if possible. All right. Anyways, top 2 here. All right, so the nose on glass 1 here, which is in second place so far, it's just a little closed off, like I said earlier, and it's hurting it. The black pepper note on it's great. There's this honey sweetness, this kind of cherry note, but the thing in first place now, glass 4, it's just balance. It's just all balance. Wow. Apple, big apple. This is a tough one. I probably can't end with a tie, right? I would tie these two because I think one has some more interest on the palate explosive wise. Not explosive wise, but the way the spice is, like I said earlier, it just kind of dances, pop rocks, but it doesn't help the whiskey develop. But it's actually showing a little bit better on the palate from a drinking experience standpoint than 4, even though 4 has a lot of balance. The nose on 4 is better and the palate on 1 is better. But we drink whiskey. So you got to go with the palate, right? Gotta pick a winner. Gotta pick a winner. All right. There's a funk on this glass 1 in second right now on the nose that I'm loving. Am I switching up? I think I'm switching up. Okay. Now, if I had to guess, we're sticking with that. Glass 1 is going to win this. Glass 4 is in the closest second. If I had to guess, I would say 6 is Knob Creek. We went 6, 5, 3, 2, 4, 1. 6, I say, is Knob Creek. 5, I think, is probably, I think that's probably the New Riff. 2, I think, is probably the Wilderness Trail. 3, I think, is probably the Old Forester. 4 in second, I think, is the Sagamore. And 1, I actually think the E.H. Taylor's in first. We'll see if that's true. Let's start with glass 6. In last place is the Knob Creek. Yeah, it's just, look, it doesn't feel like a rye whiskey at all. And at this age, it has such a, like that stale cardboard brown bag note that I just can't get into it. So it's not rye enough for this, and it stood out like a sore thumb, but in like a flat, stale kind of way. All right, so there we go. Glass 5 in second, or sorry, in fifth place. I said I thought this may have been like the New Riff. Let's see. Oh, it's the E.H. Taylor. The E.H. Taylor in fifth place with an acetone note that I couldn't get over. There you go. Did not see that coming. Did not. Okay, 3's got to be Old Forester in 4th place. Yeah, totally Old Forester. Stood out on the nose. Great whiskey, but just doesn't, it doesn't relate to the others. And again, it stands out so strangely. Wow, E.H. Taylor, 5th place. All right, so that throws a wrench in things. That means New Riff, Wilderness Trail, and Sagamore are in the top. And you know what I think first place is then? I don't think that's the Sagamore. So I think first is going to be Wilderness or New Riff. All right, in 3rd place is the New Riff. This makes sense. It's very easy going on the nose. Wow. I think the Wilderness Trail won this. All right, let's go to 2nd place. Oh my gosh, wow. Sagamore in 2nd place, Glass 4. And I was right on with this. This is MGP, this is Apple all day. And look, when I first got into this flight, down the line on the nose when they were still in their order, Glass 1, which is the winner, I said, woof, that's like toothpaste. Then when I came back around after sipping all of the other Ryes, that note kind of went away. Because I think my palate got used to all these rye kind of notes. So this is where I think a blind flight can sometimes hurt the final result. I'm not taking anything away from the winner, which, again, is Wilderness Trail Bottled in Bond Rye. I mean, damn. I don't want to take anything away from them. But when I first nosed it, and I went down the line before I had sipped anything, that one was like, it's a little spearminty. But then, in a flight of this size, you get used to all these things. It starts to run together. You start looking for things that stand out in each whiskey. And so that one ends up winning, even though it has a note in it that I'm not that crazy about. I mean, that's a great whiskey. It's a great whiskey. I can't believe that. E.H. Taylor in 5th place, Wilderness Trail, and Sagamore easily running away with this. So look at that. Wilderness Trail distilling their own stuff, presumably 4-year-old whiskey here. Sagamore, this is their own stuff. This is not MGP. Both companies totally deserve to win out in a flight like this for so many reasons, not the least of which is the quality of their whiskey. So, wow. Very fun flight, guys. The Wilderness Trail, again, you got to like that spearmint note. But there's this huge, like, leather thing in there, and it has this feeling that there's a lot of age, which is why I was like, well, maybe that's the E.H. Taylor, because I feel like that one would have a little bit of age on it. Yeah, and let's see, Paul says, thoughts on Pikesville? I really like Pikesville. I think that's a great rye. I just didn't include it because it's 110 proof instead of 100. I wanted to keep these proofs all the same and make this as comparable as possible. Tylese, yeah, the E.H. Taylor, interestingly, has an acetone note. Yeah, and I didn't pick that up when I reviewed it, but in this flight, it definitely does. And the other thing about that is someone mentioned in the comments that this has 2 DSPs on it. Yeah, and because it's bottled in bond, it can only come from one of those DSPs, and the other one is Barton. So this could be Barton Rye. Now, Barton has that banana note that Old Forester has. I don't know that Barton has that acetone note, though, that the Brown-Forman products have. So, but there could be that connection. If the banana note, whatever's going on with that, whether it's the yeast strain or something, if that's what gives it the banana note, then maybe that's the same thing. If it's the same thing that also gives it the acetone note, then it would make sense that a Barton product, if that's what this is, given the extra DSP on the label, could also give that acetone note in the same way that Brown-Forman does, because they all share that banana quality. I don't know. I'd have to ask somebody that knows more about fermentation and, like, you know, that process of why that banana note is coming in. Wow. So very surprising. But in this case, I think the right call was made with E.H. Taylor where it is in this flight. I think at best, this is it's 4th place if you take the Old Forester and move it down one because it's so kind of out of left field, just like the Knob Creek. But I truly didn't expect it to end up that way. Let's see what was said up here. Adam says you should have dropped that Wilderness Trail 7-year in the mix. I'm telling you. Yeah, well, Adam, that wouldn't have been fair, right? I mean, I wanted to go entry level, and this is still winning out. Mike says, I just picked up the Sagamore Batch 3A, 6-year-old. This is Batch 3A, yeah. So this is exactly what came second tonight. All right, guys, so here's the deal. Tomorrow night, also, I'm feeling okay. Stomach's a little wobbly, but I tried to really limit consumption and have very small sips. Tomorrow night, live stream, I think at the regular time, 8 p.m. We'll see. Sometimes it ends up being bumped 30 minutes to an hour later. Tomorrow night's live stream, again, we're going to open up. It's already open, but we're going to taste again the Old Forester employees or staff bottle, and we're going to give away samples of this. We've got, as you can see behind me right here, we've got the 13th Colony 15th anniversary. We'll taste that. I procured a Heaven Hill 18 today for way too much money. So any of the super chats that come in tomorrow night are going to go towards that. And then, of course, when the Heaven Hill 18 gets here, hopefully before next week's live stream, I'll put that up against the 17-year, and we'll give away samples in pairs of those so that people that win that giveaway will have the chance to do that side-by-side comparison. I think that'll be great. Otherwise, tomorrow night, besides the staff bottle, and the 13th Colony, I've got to figure out what else we're going to be tasting. Maybe a mystery sample. And we'll just kind of roll with the punches. So I think that's going to do it. Thanks for tuning in. If you watch the replay, thank you for doing that. Again, hit that like button on your way out. And by the way, if you do want to support the channel, the Patreon is growing crazy. Crazy. I think yesterday we had 5 or 6 patrons jump in. Paid Patreon members. I mean, the growth has been amazing, and the community's amazing. And the community chat's been a lot of fun to interact with everybody. And I'm trying to be really active over there. Also, the Old Forester High Angel Share, the newest release in the 117 series, is on the way. It's going to get here Friday, so that'll be on next week's stream. Samples of that will be given away with the Heaven Hill 18 as long as that's in at the same time. So that's going to be a great giveaway. We've got a couple more great giveaways coming up, and then we'll take a Thursday night off just to kind of, calm things down a little bit on that front. But, Jason, what's secondary on Heaven Hill 18? It's about 112 to 1,400 right now, and there are very few moving. I got a DM about it. It wasn't even publicly posted, interestingly. Okay. I'm out. Cheers, guys. Thanks. And we'll wrap up with a quick sip of Wilderness Trail Bottled in Bond Rye, which is the recommendation of the night with the Sagamore. So cheers, guys. And I'll see you tomorrow night.